It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Bissy, in the building of Biajilu Ugbo. How are you?
Good morning. Excellent morning, ladies.
You didn't say the importer-exporter today.
Oh,
I thought I should add the pure water.
Importer, exporter.
Pure water.
How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Happy International Women's Day.
Yeah.
The show yesterday was so great. I watched from beginning to the end. It just sort of opened my eyes to understand that most of these biases we're talking about, we have created them. And we need to do more because we have created them, and especially the women are the ones enforcing these biases. We need to do more. We need to support ourselves better, like the conversation we had in the makeup room this morning, where we need to do better in supporting one another. And that's the only way that we can break this. And also, it needs to be a consistent work. Yes, it's not something we just do once in a year and then everybody goes back to normal. We need to do more in reminding ourselves over and over that we need to break these biases.
Good, good. How you doing, Takwe?
I'm very good. I posted this morning that after protesting, what next? You know, and I think that's just what you said. And I also think that after our conversation in the makeup room, it's important that we look within ourselves and try to discover our own unconscious biases. And Maria mentioned it, that we all have unconscious biases, and we need to check ourselves and not respond to what the society is giving you, but think within yourself, like if you were in this person's shoes, how would you want to be treated? How would you want the opportunities given to you? And let's relate from that point, you know. And that is very important. So we've learned a whole lot from International Women's Day. And if any of you haven't attended any program, find a program to attend. They're still celebrating women all through the month. And it's important for every woman to be in that circle. So you're learning and you're challenged and you're meeting people, very important, all through the month.
Yeah.
Mariam, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So for me, it's the United Nations Women. The theme for this year, International Women's Day, actually, is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And you know I'm all about environmental sustainability. And for me, it's a time to shed light on the importance of being environmentally conscious. Conservation is important. Vultures are important. And there's so many women and girls in this sphere that are just working hard. And to show you that women already understand the importance of that, we should join hands together and take small steps today for a better environment for our children tomorrow.
Well, I'd like to just use the opportunity to congratulate all the women yesterday who went out, even those that didn't go out. The fact that all our efforts wasn't in vain. At least 3 of these bills are being reconsidered, and that's huge victory for all the women. So all the work, hard work, the meetings, the lobbying, the explaining, the talking to people, shouting and screaming, it wasn't in vain. We must sustain it somewhat, but I'm happy that at least we have some thing to at least have feedback. Something about. We shouldn't be too celebratory yet, but it's a good step in the right direction. Thank you for the women that came up. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with the punch this morning. Crude oil price, MAN warns, that's Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, warns of hyperinflation. Subsidy hits 400 naira. Diesel, 625 naira per litre. International Women's Day, close gender gap between men, women in governance, says minister. Power disruption looms as second Niger bridge gets April completion date. Scores injured, shops burnt as Yoruba Hausa traders clash in Ogun. Bamishe, Sanwo-Olu slams critics. BRT suspends operations, family demands justice. Osun PDP governors' primaries produce Adeleke, Babayemi as candidates. Tinubu proposes meeting with APC reps caucus on presidential bid. Electoral Act, court can't stop amendment, says Lawan. PDP submits Umar his replacement to INEC, sacked governor's seats tight. Okay. Which story? Let's start with the human interest, Bamishe.
Okay, so we all are aware of the sad story of the young fashion designer that was murdered allegedly by the BRT bus driver. Her sister was on a live yesterday, and she spoke about how, you know, they heard the news, and she appealed to the state governor, to the president as well, to make sure that all is done to investigate the story, because the driver is giving a different side to the story. He claims that there were gunmen who were in the bus and forced, and they were the ones that forced her or killed her. But she says definitely there are holes in his story, because when it happened, he went home, and 2 days later he resumed work. He did not report the case. He did not say anything happened to him. He just continued work. And so she's begging that please investigations to be done properly to make sure that her sister gets justice. Really sad.
So, I mean, this is an important story, because we ride on a lot of emotions, and it's important that we allow the law to take its course, also allow investigation to be done properly. So I know people are angry, people are upset.
There's always media trials.
And there's always that media trial where people just come with all sorts of things. But first and foremost, let's wait for the autopsy results. Let's see what happened. That then directs us, and then the investigation. And let's hope that indeed we have real justice, because the governor obviously is aware of that and is on top of it. So let us stay calm. And I think something I will never forget what SDJ said, Celadine Jacob said, we must learn to exercise restraint and tolerance. Restraint is so important. We want to shout, scream. Yes, restrain yourself. Let the law take its course. If not, we're going to live in a banana republic.
Yes. Everybody will do things anyhow. Yes.
So I will take the story about International Women's Day. The Minister for Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, has urged all stakeholders. She was speaking at the Christian Association of Nigeria event that they used to commemorate the date yesterday in Abuja. And she spoke to the fact that we need to close the gender gap. We need to. She said she's of the opinion that a lot of development would happen if we would just give more women opportunity in positions of leadership. Of course, the president also spoke at this same event. Governor of Edo State, Obaseki, spoke at this event. Everybody's just saying that we're reiterating it in words. I just want this action, So if everybody is saying it now, when it's time to vote, let's give the women what they've demanded for.
And vote for the men who vote for the he for she's. The men who have supported us. Let us vote for them, because hey, listen, that's where we are.
We see the speaker. We see you, sir.
Well done.
Yes. So another story, human interest story here. So I think on Monday evening, Yoruba traders and Hausa settlers engaged in a bloody clash at the popular Lafenwa market in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. They said the fight started on Monday, snowballed heavily on Tuesday, when they found out that one of the Hausa settlers had died. So there was a clash between them, and when one Hausa man died, the thing just escalated. And so they brought in the Seriki, of the head of the Hausa settlers, was called to intervene in the crisis, and he was injured as well. So he's been taken to the hospital, although the police public relations officer Abimbola Oyeyemi has confirmed the incident, but he's saying that there is no life lost, although a lot of shops were razed down in the clash. They didn't give us the exact details of what happened between the Hausa and the Yoruba people.
Okay, let's move on. I was going to take a story, which I can't even remember the story at all, but let's move on quickly to The Nation. APC's soft landing for Buni as Sani Bello consolidates. NYSC DG cautions core members on free rides. Buhari to open second Niger Bridge in October. Judgment sacking Umahi throws Ebonyi into confusion. Catholic priest abducted. International Women's Day. And Adeleke Babayemi claim Osun PDP governorship ticket. Okay.
Yes, the DG of NYSC is appealing to coppers to please not take free rides. Don't jump on those free rides. In light of all that's happened, the constant kidnappings, ritual killings, sadly, the one that we're just talking about, even though this wasn't a free ride, this was a government ride, but to just say that, and we were there once before, we understand what it means to be a copper, and sometimes you are trying to count your change and, manage your money, but times are tough. You cannot trust anyone, so just be careful not to take free rides. Just take government-approved transportation.
Okay, so I was going to take the Electoral Act. So what happened was that the Federal High Court in Abuja had stopped the President, the Attorney General, and I think the Minister of Justice, and even the Parliament from tampering with the Electoral Act of 2022. But however, I think the President of the Senate was saying that we cannot let the judiciary stop us from doing our jobs. Let me see. I wanted to make he said, I find it necessary to talk about this at this point because our governance system is based on presidential system of government, where there's clear-cut separation of powers. The judiciary, under no circumstance, cannot stop the National Assembly from performing its legislative duties. I mean, so this is
They just
back and forth
signed this
between.
into law.
So
if you tamper with it, it would affect the elections.
Yeah.
So we need to.
need to agree. Okay.
So we have the story of the Federal High Court in Abuja yesterday concerning David Umahi, the Ebonyi State governor, who was sacked because he defected alongside his deputy to another political party. So according to Justice Iyang Eko, he said they unlawfully defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress, APC. And they won that election based on the PDP platform, which it's not an individual who won the election. So they cannot transfer the position that they've gotten from one political party to another. I think we're going to be talking about it, so let me not just give the full details. But Umahi, on the other hand, is saying that he is covered by immunity, so the judge does not have any right to remove him from his position.
Lawyers will tell us,
Okay,
what do we know?
so let's move on quickly. Let's see how much time we have. We have some more time.
The Nation.
Okay, let's move on to
let me quickly take a story in The Nation. Sorry. There was a sad story of bandits. 2 people were killed. Very sad story. So this happened. The father, Joseph Akeke, was kidnapped, as well as 2 children and their mother. The kidnapping took place in Kaduna Metropolis, and the police confirmed it. They said they were shooting into the air, killed the local security men that were supposed to protect the church and the parishioners. Those were killed. They kidnapped the Reverend Father and 3 other people alongside. The story has been confirmed. Of course, you know, Khan has spoken up concerning this to say it happened. We're very, very angry about it. Security officials are now at the scene, allowing citizens to go about their activities. And I'm really, really, this is, like, we're tired.
Sad. Every day.
We're tired, you know.
Okay, let's move on to Zedi's son. Umahi talks tough over and after the court sack. Let's find a story. Not take second Niger Bridge ready next month. Says federal government. Oshu PDP primaries. Adeleke Babayemi emerged factional candidates. Family of murdered BRT passenger picks holes in drivers' accounts. Let's see. Airline cancel more flights as aviation fuel scarcity worsens. And Senate tackles judiciary begins Electoral Act amendment. Okay, well, second Niger Bridge.
Second Niger Bridge. So the federal government has said it will complete the second Niger Bridge next month, and it will be commissioned before the end of the year. So according to the Chief of Staff to the President, Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, he said this when they were mounting the toll. And he was saying that the concession and the tolling is a secondary issue. They want to, first of all, sort out the completion of the roads before they can talk about tolling. And if we really want to go by international best practices over the world, you see that we need to pay for the services that we get. So definitely we're going to be having toll there, but they will be creating an alternative. So for those who do not want to go through the toll and pay, they will go through the old road, the alternative road. And that's how it's done all over the world if we want those critical services. But people are really happy that this Niger Bridge
as we've been waiting.
It's like
completed.
Forever. So flights are being cancelled because obviously the scarcity of fuel. Dana Air, Ibom Air, quite a number of them had passengers delayed their flights. Many of them, they couldn't get the Jet A ones, which is the fuel that they use for the aircrafts. Now, they said that they've encountered a situation today and the aviation fuel is scarce and therefore not available for most of their flight destinations. They're doing everything they can, but they wanted the passengers and customers to be aware that in fact, almost all the destinations, they couldn't find fuel to lift the aircrafts. So this issue, and this, you can also connect this to the fact that the Russian invasion of Ukraine, because then they said that before the invasion, the fuel was, Brent was about $90, $90 per liter. But now it's $133 to the liter. It has totally increased, and people are shutting their economies on Russia. So obviously, there's a huge demand for fuel, and now the prices have gone up. It's supposed to be good news for us, meaning that we'll have more people to buy, but it means that we're also paying more subsidies. So this thing is a very, in fact, I need an expert to come and tell us, how do we benefit from this new window of opportunity that we have? But is it going to be beneficial in any way? I mean, do we benefit from the subsidy?
Are we the only country that is affiliated to this economy.
Good.
How come we are the ones that are suffering?
How do you know you're the only one? How many countries
No,
do you know
what's
that
the
you
news?
No, it's only American. It's only CNN you're watching.
No.
You're not watching news in Ghana. You don't know what's going on
I'm saying
in Chad.
what
You don't know
are
what's
the
going
other...
on in Sierra
If it is
Leone.
happening in Ghana, social media will carry it. That the airlines... And one, airlines have increased prices. All tickets, local tickets have gone up.
So if you live in Ghana, let us know what the news is like. If you live anywhere outside Nigeria, aside from Europe, obviously, let us know how fuel is over there, because they're telling us that one of the reasons why we don't have fuel here is because of the invasion in Russia.
Wow.
Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're moving on now to Vanguard. Why court sacked Umahi deputy 16 lawmakers? Picture here of Elumelu meeting the Prime Minister. You know, very, very charismatic man. Just on the side.
Oh my God.
APC crisis. Bello may be ratified as acting chairman next week. Why Sunday Igboho can't leave Benin Republic, says resource. International Women's Day reps backpedal to reconsider 3 women's bill. Reps asked FG to evacuate Nigerians from other parts of Ukraine. Slain BRT victim was a virgin, mom inconsolable, dad hard to pacify, says brother-in-law. Bloodbath as bandits kill 65 people, abduct others in Niger. Okay.
Yeah. So let me take reps. The House of Reps yesterday resolved to consider the failed bills that tend to promote interests of women in the ongoing constitutional amendment. The bill failed to get the required 240 votes, and the citizenship, indigenship, and 35% affirmative action for women. So after the resumption of plenary on Tuesday, the Speaker, House of Reps, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, stated that there was need for the House to rescind its decision for the good of the country. So that's why I say we see you, Mr. Speaker. We see what you're trying to do, and we hope that you know,
you
all
get a
the
lot
other
of support.
people involved would have a rethink, because Mariah threatened us.
Let us tell you, let's look at the camera and say, oh God, we see you.
We see you.
Speaker, we see you.
And we appreciate what you are doing so far.
But let me just also add that the president also gave a goodwill message to the women.
From London?
From London.
Special advisor on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, he says that he applauded the contributions of women in his administration, his ministers, special advisors, senior special assistants, executive directors, and so many others. He says that they are definitely pulling their weight and making it impossible for anyone to downplay their essence. He also agrees that women are not where they should be yet, and we should put our hands together, you know, to change that.
Same House of Representatives, they've urged the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Onyema, to ensure that relevant agencies immediately evacuate and liaise with Ukrainian authorities to get out Nigerians, especially those ones who are stuck in some other cities close to Russia. I think we had a lot of Nigerian students stuck in Sumy, and they said they had started taking a trip out of Sumy, but then when they had gone like 50 kilometers, they had to bring them back. Now the hostels are surrounded by Ukrainian authorities and police, and they're not allowing them to go out. So they're appealing that we need to find ways. Some of them are struggling to get water, food. The conditions are quite harsh there.
Since the first batch came in, we've kind of been quiet about this evacuation story. You know, we just heard the planes came in, they brought about 1,000 or so kids. And
they brought another batch. I think they brought another batch. I saw on social media, I'm not sure. But they brought another batch.
We need to follow up and know exactly how many kids are back home. You know, it's important to be clear, because we don't keep silent on this.
So they're appealing to those neighboring countries to allow Nigerians get in there so that they can come back home.
Well, I think what Sumy is that it's closer to Russia than
Ukraine.
So good news, a bit of, well, we think only good news, because Nigeria ranks 30 in global beer study. So there's a study done, at least it's above average or something.
Is that a good thing?
Is it beer consumption or beer sales?
The economy, the production and the economy generally. Studying about 70 countries that are This was done by the World Brewery Alliance. The brewery industry is a massive industry, provides employment, and of course, in the ranking, Nigeria is number 30. They mentioned how the fact that about 23 million jobs are provided worldwide through this brewery industry. So it's a good, it's religious-wise, it's not good, but in terms of economy, it is providing jobs for people. And they're saying that this is despite the pandemic, and that the brewery industry is recovering. They're even going towards e-commerce for brewery industry as opposed to the way it's been done conventionally before, that there's a huge opportunity for people to come into the industry and make money within that industry.
Okay, the Nigerian Tribune, let's find a story. We've not taken 62 killed by bandits in Kebbi. Reps to reconsider 3 rejected bills. We talked about that already. ASU strike, students block Lagos Ibadan Expressway. FG releases 10 billion naira for presidential wing clinic. Adeleke wins Osun PDP governorship primary. Picture here of Honorable Minister of Works and Housing. Mr. Babatunde Fashola. I think there's an inspection in the Niger Bridge in Delta State. And let's see, commuters groan as BRT buses suspend operations over Bamishi's death. I know they were suspended. I'm not sure if they've resumed as the BRT buses, because I know my driver complained that he couldn't get, it was difficult for him to get to work. So I don't know what the update is about.
The paper said suspended.
Suspended, right, yeah.
I didn't hear anything about resumption.
So in Kebbi State, they said no fewer than 40 members of a vigilante group have been killed or feared to be killed by bandits. This was in the Sakaba local government area of Kebbi. It happened on Monday night. They said this group of vigilantes were on their way to an operation in Dankolo village, and then they ran into a bandits ambush. And from eyewitness reports, they say it seemed that the bandits had foreknowledge of their movement and then ambushed them, and most of them were killed. They said although on the bandits' side also they had casualties, but they noticed that when they went back, most of the bandits had carried their own members. They said that this attack may have happened because 2 weeks before there had been an operation and it affected, the bandits, and so that may be the reason why they have come to, why they came and they did this. The president is aware of this. He said he's really sad about it. They said President Buhari expresses sadness over the killing of Kebbi vigilantes and demands for more proactive efforts going forward.
Yeah, another story in the Tribune. Students under the umbrella of the National Association of Nigerian Students on Tuesday, that was yesterday, protested and blocked the Ogun end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over the lingering strike on ASU. And they were calling on the president to resign from office, saying that he has failed them. They were gathered there till they started at about 8 a.m. in the morning, and it took some public officials to come and, beg them and take them away. So one of the things they lamented is instead of the federal government to listen to ASU and go with the agreements they've already had since 2009, they are setting up another committee to start renegotiation, and that is not the way to go. That at the end of this day, of the strike and everything, they are the ones that are losing. They are losing out. By the time they graduate from school after spending so many years, they are not able to get jobs in the labor market, and it's really affecting them. So the government needs to do the needful, equip these lecturers so that they can go back to school.
Okay, congratulations to Senator Adeleke. He was declared winner of the PDP primaries. Out of 1,916 delegates, he got 1,887.
Wow.
Now only him don't know. So congratulations to him. All right, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we have a sponsor segment for MasterCard. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So unfortunately, 2 of the ladies of Your View had to step down because we have 2 special guests in the building. In December 2021, women announced the theme for the International Women's Day 2022, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. As part of the programs to commemorate the 2022 International Women's Day, here we have in the studio the founder, Hobbycam Africa, Ijoma Adesanya, and also Winland, as WILAN Global, Abosede George, to discuss the subject of gender balance and equitable access to education. So it's actually Abosede George Ogun. Ogan. Thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate. People just assume it's Ogun because they think it's easier to understand, but then you realize it's actually Ogan. Yeah. Welcome, ladies, to the show. It's a pleasure to have you both.
Thank you so much for having us this morning.
So when you hear of gender balance and equitable access, sometimes it's such a mouthful, and you're thinking, okay, what exactly are you trying to say here? So is it gender balance as regards the numbers of boys and girls in the classrooms, or gender balance in the sense of access to education, meaning that do we have enough teachers, female teachers teaching, or male teachers? How exactly? Let me start with you.
Yeah.
Which is it?
So when you hear about gender balance and equitable access, and I think that that's really a great place to start because it speaks to a lot of things. So of course, this morning we're focusing on access to secondary education for the girl child. But really, when you talk about access, I think that's why International Women's Month, because we're claiming the month, is so important. Because what we have seen in the world is really so there's inequality, and we're trying to close that gap. And oftentimes, inequality shows up as lack of access, all right? Or, you know, there's just affordability. So those are some of the gaps that we need to close. So when you hear about the education gap, in terms of access, it's really the fact that, yes, we have almost achieved parity when it comes to enrollment.
Exactly, I was going to say that.
Enrollment for boys and girls.
Yes.
However, we have not achieved completion.
So the pyramid, drop off.
Exactly. Right? And with most things, in terms of access to economic opportunities, you know, that's the same thing. It's not that sometimes women don't start the journey. It's that the system does not allow them to complete the journey.
I love this. I love this.
There's something I wanted to point out. So for every year that a youth stays in school, their earning power increases by 18%.
Absolutely.
That's a very significant amount for every year. Now, you find that a lot of times girl children drop out, you know, probably around the lower secondary level, and they're not able to complete. And we know and we understand that the secondary level is very important. Why? Only about 9% actually move on to tertiary education in sub-Saharan Africa. So if we look at it in that way, then what we're saying is that the secondary education is what prepares the youth for life. For life and for work.
Exactly.
And so that is so critical. And so that's why today we're trying to emphasize the importance of secondary education in Africa, for the girl child in Africa. And so what MasterCard Foundation have done is that they've produced a report, as Abosede said, which is the Secondary Education in Africa report. And that report completely details the importance of secondary education, not just for the girl child, but in general. So how can the government come in? How can stakeholders come in? How can school administrators come in? How can the Ministry of Education come in? You know, what is their role in all of this? And how can we advance education?
So I love the fact that you mentioned completion.
Yes.
And I know that this has a lot to do, not just with government and other stakeholders, but also the parents and the mindset.
Yes.
So I had a friend recently who was, you know, telling me that one of her aunties who had 7 children and lost the husband, I think about 4 boys, 3 girls. And it was time for them to make some adjustments.
Absolutely.
And they had to tell the 3 girls to drop out of
down.
school so that their brothers can finish, and maybe if there's change tomorrow, they can learn a trade or something.
Exactly.
What are you doing to ensure that the mindset of our parents to understand that the girl child needs this education as much as the boy child, so that we don't have some of these drop-offs when things happen and they're not able to pay their fees?
Yeah. So let me speak to some of the recommendations that came out of this report that Ijoma sort of alluded to. A major one is that we need stakeholders to start to focus on diversifying the funding of secondary education. So we need more equity-based financing, right? Because what you have just described is what many low-income families have to make decisions about. Whether it's a loss of a loved one, or just how tough the economy is sometimes. And immediately they have to make that choice between a male child going to school and a female child going to school. So one is, how do we get more stakeholders on board, right, to actually fund secondary education for free? And we've seen some of these models come out of other countries, right? But most importantly, how do we also create pathways for young people, girls particularly, to get the skills that they need for 21st century work?
Right.
So that if, for example, you do drop off, you know, Ijoma already mentioned that only 9% go off to tertiary.
Continue,
exactly. So if you do drop off, do you have digital skills? Do you have 21st century skills around problem solving, critical thinking, communication, right? Entrepreneurship.
Interestingly, I do some work for the Commissioner for Education in Lagos, so I am privy to some information. And I know there's a program that just recently got launched just last month. It's called Comprehensive Schools. And what that is that from GSS, they give you the options. So they're piloting, I think, just 12 schools out of the school, just to see how it goes. Now, what they're doing is from GSS 3, you get to choose, do I want to go learn the technical skills, the digital skills, or do I want to continue with the wide path? So they divide the curriculum into two. You are the book one person, you want to continue in the medical line, the technical line, you can go this way. But those of you who feel you're stronger with hands-on, you can learn, and you still get a certificate at the end. But there's a problem. The parents are rebelling. They're saying, you don't want my child to do WAEC. You don't want my child, no.
So here's the thing. So the communication, the way that technical and vocational skills, the way that training is advertised, the perception of that is very important. So it's actually up to the governments to now find a way to sensitize, including the parents. Because when we talk about education, a lot of times we take out the families. Those are the most important people that you need to convince, first of all, before anybody else. And so it's very important that we focus on sensitizing the way that we deliver the message.
The messaging, exactly,
so
around
something about, when we talk about the girl child and education and all of that, is mainstreaming. How do you bring gender into every single thing that you're doing? So Abosede mentioned, you know, all of the stakeholders involved and what should be done. But there's something, so the MasterCard Foundation, what they've done is they've given out over 37,000 scholarships in sub-Saharan Africa. But about 73% of that are female. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you're thinking in that way, it's very deliberate. You have to be intentional. So with everything that has to do with gender mainstreaming, deliberation, being deliberate is very important.
And let me also highlight that beyond tuition, which MasterCard Foundation has given, it is also important to think about, do they have access to the hygiene products that they need in school? They have access to hygiene facilities that they need in school. So if we're not being intentional, then even in designing schools, so around infrastructure, teacher training, that was something that you were mentioning earlier with regards to ASU. But it's so important because it's not just education, it's quality and relevant education that leads to young people actually being work ready. And then ending as being valuable contributors in society.
So these recommendations that the reports from the MasterCard Foundation, you've made the recommendations. Is this the government? How has this been submitted? What are the next steps with this report?
So I wouldn't look at it in terms of the next steps. What I would say is that to a large extent, the government can galvanize. They can galvanize all the stakeholders. And I believe that when they do that, they will see the gaps. And so there are so many international organizations that want to help. Do you see what I'm saying? There are so many private sector that want to help. And a lot of times when they come in, it's just, let's paint. You know, let's paint
thank you for that, because I did some work for the Commission of Education. Goodness, in a day, everybody from Russia, from London, they come in and they all have these proposals, nicely done, well presented. But the truth is sometimes you don't know the problem, the real problem. See, even she would tell you that my perception of government, when I came in, is a totally different ballgame.
Absolutely. So I want to allude to something. You know, we talk about the budgeting. So best practice actually says that a country should commit between 15 and 20% of its total budget to education. We saw India do this, and in 2 decades, they transformed and became like the go-to for technology.
Senegal as well.
Exactly.
20%.
Absolutely.
Senegal is 20%.
So what am I saying? But Nigeria is 6%, by the way. Government needs to have a clear strategy.
And it's the lowest it's been in 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So government has to have a strategy that these stakeholders can key into. And that's why I talked about result-based financing. There's funding for education globally. But if they don't know that it would lead to specific outcomes.
Yeah, you know, I like that is so important because people come with all sorts of ideas. They want to do AI, they want to do STEM, they want to do this.
But what is the strategy?
What's the strategy? What's the
Where are we
direction?
going? So we have a youth population, right? Over 60% of Nigerian youth are 15 and below. So that's why secondary school education is critical to unlock the destiny, literally, of the girl child. It literally determines if she ends up as a child bride or if she actually goes on to be an entrepreneur that hires people.
Is there anything you can do about policies? Because you just mentioned child bride. And we can't be on one hand saying that girl children should be put in school and we ensure that they finish school. At the other hand, we have laws that permit girl children to be married off at a certain age when they're not even ripe enough for that. Is there any plans to start looking at policies, how we can change some things for the better?
I mean, so you know about the Child Rights Act. Yes, exactly.
Hasn't been adopted across.
But unfortunately, especially in northern Nigeria, right? And so that sort of, to your point, we have to adopt it because until it becomes justiciable and somebody can be held accountable. Then
and it's also the religious laws, right? So in those areas, so to an extent, there's not much that can be done there. But when we're talking about education and everything, I think strategy from the government. And
so we have to wrap up. Let me let you have final words on this. So I'm happy that you've seen the report and you made them, and I like the recommendations. And I just hope that, just like you said, we need to get the right stakeholders together in the room and have a focus, which is the summary of this. But what are your final words as we wrap up? Let me start with you and then come to you.
So, I mean, I think what I would say is, organizations like MasterCard Foundation have shown what is possible.
Right.
But they are not government.
Exactly.
And so it's really important that all the critical stakeholders, as we have said, come together, focus on infrastructure, curriculum, teacher training, and most importantly, I think there needs to be a little bit of flexibility, which is why I'm really excited to hear what you say Lagos State government is doing. Because choice-based learning, adapting how we assess students, right? All of those things are things that could really change the outcome of education and equitable access for young girls.
Final words?
Yeah, I would say mainstreaming, so messaging is very important. Messaging is extremely important, especially for families. We talk about PTAs, we talk about different ways in which we can engage families, but the messaging and the way that we focus on having girl children actually complete their education is extremely important. So when we think about the government galvanizing everybody, I would say it's important for the strategy to be long-term, for the strategy to be sustainable. So when we move between administration, it's not changing. We have a clear path, there's continuity for education across board. You're talking about the ASU strike and all of that. These are the problems, So
that's to wrap up. Thank you so much. I think COVID showed us how weak the entire
need for digital skills.
Yes. That's all we can. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, first time in our democracy that a governor is on the verge of losing his position due to defection of another political party. Though the governor and his deputies still have a right to appeal the appellate court, last week's constitutional amendment actually was one that caused this to happen. Now, the National Assembly had voted in favor. Once any electoral politician cross carpets to another party, he or she automatically loses his or her position. Unlike the time past where they hinge on factions within their parties. So this happened where yesterday Umahi got sacked. Now, everybody's talking about this, and we will need clarity that, okay, with this new, although they still have the right to appeal, but we need understanding if this is really here to stay. What does it mean for future elections? What does it mean for future democracy going forward? The strength of our democracy and the sustenance of our democracy. What are your thoughts on this? I'd like to hear your thoughts. You can call us on 08127053687, 09139076948. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. I know you took the story during the papers in this one, so let me let you start.
Okay, so I was thinking we're getting the guest first, but there's something interesting here that I want to quote about what the judge said in giving the judgments. Let me get it quickly. He says,
okay, before you go ahead,
okay?
Let me, because I'm told we have a guest in the studio right now.
Right.
So we're going to be focusing actually on the legality of yesterday's judgment sacking Ebonyi governor and deputy and 15 lawmakers, the Professor Amari Omaka, SAN, Ebonyi State. Good morning, sir. Are you there? Hello, sir. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. So, yesterday, you hear about the news that happened yesterday, and obviously it's one of the hottest topics today. The fact that the judgment sacking Ebonyi governor, the deputy, and 15 lawmakers. I don't want to say how legal is this, because we already know what happened recently with the constitutional amendment. But do you think they can win in the appellate court to overturn this? Okay, what's the legality of this? I mean, can they upturn this decision in the appellate court? Can they appeal it?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've not had the privilege of reading the tenor of the judgment. But from what I hear from the media, the governor, His Excellency Dave Umahi, and Secretary Puti, Eric Elechigwe, and other lawmakers have been purportedly sacked by the ruling of Justice April of the Abuja High Court. And of course, others that all the votes amounting to about 4 electoral less be transferred to the People's Democratic Party. The same judgment also orders the PDP to quickly send the replacement for them to have the vote which the court proposed belong to the People's Democratic Party. Well, what is surprising in this matter is that in this country we have had repeat of defections, so many defections, and the court have spoken extensively concerning the power of the court to remove a sitting governor or president merely because of defection. I want to start by saying that the court that gave this order is a high court. A high court and a federal high court, whether state or federal, have coordinate jurisdiction. In other words, they have the same power. I consider this foreign shopping, where people will not be conscious of the fact that they not of similar jurisdiction have given judgment. You go ahead and still give another one. This is judicial helplessness. And I'm glad to reiterate the fact that the Honorable, the Chief Judge of the Federation have consistently warned against this and said punishment should be meted against. We are looking forward to the day punishment will begin to meted, begin to give, conflicting judgment, courts that have the same power. That is what I have to say at the interim.
All right.
However, it is there's no gain repeating the fact that standard section 40 of the Constitution, and in the case of the Inspector General of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Political Advisor, the Supreme Court relies on Section 4 of the Constitution and says that nobody, whether president or governor, is prohibited. They have a right to join any political party and also to exit any political party provided it's a issue that that political party is recognized by INEC. And the question is the APC as a party recognized by INEC? I think that's the issue.
Okay, so that's one.
So, generally speaking, I am of the opinion that that is foreign shopping, and the governor has the right, and the court has spoken in repeat of cases, which each time will permit us, we can mention a good number of them, that votes belong extensively to the individual and not to the party. It belongs to the individual and not to the party. And then, if you look at the content of Section 141 of the Constitution, and then the provisions of the amended Electoral Act, it is slow in saying that votes actually belongs to individuals and not to political parties. So I'm saying, without fear of equivocation, that judgment will not stand the test of appeal.
Okay.
It is going to collapse like a pack of cards. That is my opinion concerning this matter.
Okay,
Because,
okay, sir. All right, let me throw a few questions in for you.
The court has emphatically restated the fact that no court can sack a sitting governor or president or any public officer apart from legislators if they leave one party as their constitutional right.
Okay, sir. But the justice declared that under the democratic system of governance operated in Nigeria, the votes won at an election by a political party cannot be transferred to or utilized for the benefit of another political party or member of another political party. And that was where he based this judgment on. But my question is, does the court have the powers to appoint another governor? Or are we going to have like another election so that the people can elect a new governor? How will this play out?
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Are you there with me?
Yes.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that there are a lot of cases that go to justify, because it's not the first time a governor is defecting to another party. And the court has spoken concerning that to the effect that it does not matter. You have a right to go to any particular party at any point in time, and you have a right to belong as long as the Constitution, as long as the INEC recognizes that political party. And by virtue of Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as contained in the substantive judgment of Attorney General of Federation on Atiku Abubakar, that the Supreme Court, in that case, Atiku left when he had a problem with his boss. He left the Full Democratic Party to Action Congress, and the president didn't like that. And the Honorable Attorney General, was sued by Atiku, whose office was declared vacant. And the court held that Atiku has a right to go to any political party. And when it went on appeal to the Supreme Court, the case was dismissed in favor of the Atiku. So, and then under the principle of stare decisis, is judicial precedent, the High Court has a duty, is duty bound to respect, judgment, a substantive judgment of the Court of Appeal. And of course, the Court of Appeal, the same manner, will respect the judgment of the Supreme Court. So when the Supreme Court has spoken, I don't know where, with due respect, the learned justice of the High Court, Justice Eko, with authority relies to, purportedly on that His Excellency, the Governor of the State, and so on.
All right, let me get one more question in for you, sir.
Okay,
just one
sir.
last question. Go ahead.
See, lawyers, judiciary, the courts, sometimes when all that happens, it's a bit above our heads for us regular Nigerians. So for me as a regular Nigerian, what I heard was that the National Assembly had passed this, had voted in agreement that once you cross carpet, you lose your seat. And if you say at the court, it makes no sense. So why are we making policies that are dead on arrival? So is it that when you make you vote in something at the National Assembly, a law is made, a policy is made at the National Assembly, it doesn't matter because in the court it will be thrown out? Could you explain to me this dilemma?
you stood against them. Why, except with the ground, you can sue the governor, the president, or their deputies, is when you are suing them on their official capacity. In this case, the governor is being sued and his deputy and all the officials in their personal capacity. So, relying on the authority of the decisions of the Supreme Court, in Nigeria and Idris and a good number of others, the Supreme Court have said you cannot sue the governor. So the case is almost dead on arrival. So what any court has right to speak. But let us be careful the way we handle our democracy, so we don't leave the court.
I have to wrap up. I have to run. Thank you very much, Professor Mari, for joining us this morning. That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, move on to our other segments. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we still have with us Dr. Mariam Shettima, the convener of Citizens Unite. She'll be speaking on women in politics and how we can break the bias. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
I'm right here.
Fantastic.
I'm right here, Miss Moy.
Okay, good to have you on the show. I also hear that you're the national leader for We Believe, is an APC support group that promotes the achievements of the Buhari administration. Is that correct?
Not entirely.
Okay.
I would say that, yes, I am the champion of the We Believe movement, but it's not really an APC support group. It's quite an independent group that's meant to ginger Nigerian citizens to love their country more and be extremely patriotic and make sure Nigeria comes first in anything they do.
Fantastic.
So
I like that.
we have always aligned ourselves with the kind of leaders we feel are going to make Nigeria a great nation, basically. And at the time, APC happens to be the party. So naturally, people would think we are APC affiliated, but we are actually not. It's thoroughly independent.
Fantastic. That's good to know. So because you're the convener of Citizens Unite, how can we as women, especially because we're focusing this month on women, how can women therefore begin to galvanize, not just women, but the entire nation as a whole, to be united in the progress of this nation? Because it seems as though, because we've grown so cynical and even skeptical of this government, it's difficult to get a consensus towards an objective. So how can we get people to come together and believe that this country can actually progress?
She's not audible. I cannot make out what she's saying.
Okay.
She's very faint.
Dr. Shettima? Let me say that again. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, rest of all.
Can you hear me now?
Hello, okay. Ms. Moyo, I can hear you now. Sorry,
Great.
There was a glitch. You were not audible.
Okay, let me take that again. So I was saying that because you're the convener of Citizens Unite, I would like to find out how we, as women, help to unite the country so that we're all together and be interested in the progress of this nation. It seems that there's a lot of division amongst us, either religious-wise, either ethnic-wise. There's a lot of division. How can we bring Nigeria together to indeed seek for progress?
Luckily, I have always envisioned and envisaged a unified Nigeria. And one of the major reasons we formed this group literally is to find a unifier, somebody that could really bring the Nigerian diverse ethnic groups together and make sure everyone sees themselves as Nigerians first before anything else. And incidentally, Professor Yemi Osinbajo perfectly fills that void. And whether we like it or not, we are approaching the end of their 2 terms administration. That has been quite a wondrous experiment and journey. And we feel it's the right time to start shopping for the right candidate to fill in the shoes of Professor President Muhammadu Buhari. And Professor Yemi Osinbajo happens to be that. He is clearly a very detribalized Nigerian that puts the interests of Nigerians first. And that is one of the key attributes that drew us to him, and we eventually felt we should start prodding him. We want to compel him to come out and declare his intention to run for the leadership of Nigeria, for the goodness of our great nation.
Okay, great.
So we really want to know more about you. You know, it's Women We Love. It's a month to celebrate women. Yeah. You're super beautiful. Sorry, the thing is, I don't want to use that to reduce the intelligence, because you sound very, very smart, and I've read that you're a very, very intelligent person. You've accomplished so many things, but it's just that when I see your face, I'm just tripping. So let me just put that one aside, you know, and let's get to know you. You know, you're a woman. You've achieved so much, and I'm looking at you and I'm saying we need to have millions of you. We need to replicate you. What are you doing in that journey? What formed you? What would be your greatest influence? Who is that woman that you looked up to, and how are you passing it on?
Okay, thank you so much for that. It's such a huge compliment coming from an icon like you to be talked about in that way. And definitely my passion is to see that women get to where they are supposed to be, because we literally form half of the population of Nigeria. And therefore, whatever it is that's going on, we should definitely be carried along like 100%. And it has always been the agenda we've been pushing. And it's important for men to also know that we are not a threat to them. We are more complementary. We're not saying we are men. We're not saying we're strong and rugged. No, we like our femininity, and we like a very conducive atmosphere for every Nigerian. Women are naturally nurturing. So if men would start looking at it that way, then a lot could happen. I have had a lot of major groups. Interestingly, it's like you rightly said, it's Women's Month, and yesterday we celebrated the International Women's Day, and a lot of interesting activities happened. And I love the level of awareness from all kinds of ladies and women all across the nation, and it was quite gladdening to see that we are really trying to break the bias. I absolutely am hugely delighted about that. And one of the major key things we did is that in the Citizens Unite group, we really value women, and most of the key faces of that group is actually women, so that should tell you a lot about that. And we feel that Professor Yemi Osinbajo is someone that's really compassionate towards women. He has demonstrated that times without numbers. Coincidentally, yesterday happened to be his birthday, so it was quite a wonder that such things would sort of come together, and it tells you that there's a force higher than we could all think of when it comes to his leadership.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back and continue with you. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us today. We're still celebrating women, so we still have our guest, Dr. Mariam Shettima, in the building. You had a question for her.
Mariam Shettima, you're very beautiful. When my friend was saying it, I wanted to punch her that you can actually be beautiful and be intelligent, and it's okay. We need to celebrate that. We don't have to separate it. But you mentioned something about complimenting the men, which I found very derogatory. We are trying to show that we have the same capacities, that we can do the job as well as the men. But when we now hear complimenting, I'm not going to raise my daughter to go and compliment a man out there. The only person I'm going to compliment is my husband because I am married. But when I'm out there, I should be competing with the men. They are my counterparts. What sort of information do you think we can start giving to these young people to understand the power that they have? We've lost her. Oh, God.
Sugar, I'm so sorry. I think we lost total connection. I do apologize. But what do you, I mean, this issue of compliments is a good point to raise. A lot of women have been saying that. We had a guest recently also that was saying that we're not there to come and take your jobs. We're just there to compliment.
No,
saying that.
I'm just raising my daughter to compliment you.
So I don't agree with that. I feel that we're in a collaborative world, and we're not meant to compete. So maybe complimenting will seem like we are.
We're begging.
Yes, we're begging. We're
whatever
passing.
crumbs you give to us.
Maybe it's like we need to collaborate. There are two genders in the world, you know. So and these two genders are like they are equal parts, two sides of a coin.
Yeah.
And you cannot have a fair and balanced decision across any industry without being balanced. Yeah. So that's why they should be involved. And it's not, when they say complimentary, it tends to sound subservient. It tends to sound like you're appealing for something, but it really shouldn't be that way.
So I like that. So let's put it out there. We don't want to compliment. We want to collaborate.
Yes.
So to work hand in
I really love the word collaborate. I like the word collaborate because it shows that you understand that I'm coming with my strengths. You understand that I have something that you may not have. But when you say compliment, it's like, okay, whatever I have got left, you can come and compliment it. And so that's why that attitude of some of the members of the House on the day that they were discussing that bill, were like, no, let's not give them 30. Let's try 15. No, let's try 18.
Imagine.
You know, because it is, you know, it's for us to give. It's for us to dash them. Let us see what we can do
Let's
for
help their
them.
kids.
And I want women, I understand that there are different strategies to get what we want. Right. So I can understand those that may be talking the complimentary side, but I want women to understand that they are, they can stand toe-to-toe with any man.
Yeah.
Because they are just as educated, they are just as exposed, they are just as experienced. Right. So it's not a woman who is begging to whatever
just
you give me.
Whatever.
And so when you get to that position, you're not even expected to do much because they have to give you how much of that role to, you know, to make an impact, and you are not allowed to really give of yourself fully. Okay. But is she back?
No, so let me regrettably we lost Dr. Mariam Shettima. We couldn't get her back, but we have with us another woman who is Honorable Adewumi Ononuga. She's the Chairman House Committee on Women Affairs. So she's the right person to talk to also on this matter that we just raised. Because, good morning, madam, are you there? Hello, madam, Honorable Ononuga. Hello. Hey, good to have. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. So
yes, I can hear you too.
So before you came on, Tokwe and BC were saying something. BC was raising an objection to the word or to the phrase that women are complimenting men. We're not demanding, we're just complimenting. And Tokwe now said the better word is collaborating, let's drop the word complimenting. Let's use women are in the house to collaborate with you. What do you think about this? Should we start this hashtag, we want to collaborate, instead of complimenting?
I don't agree with the fact that we are complimenting. We're not complimenting. We're not a side dish. Collaborating, yes, I agree with that. For want of trying to say, oh, we are equal to the men, because that for them is like trying to be at par with them, which is, it's debatable, really and truly. Yes, we are collaborating because we are working together to achieve a better nation. So when you say that we are complimenting, I really do not agree with that.
Okay, all right, so good. Now let's go into the crux of the conversation. So we heard that 3 of these gender bills are being reconsidered, one of which obviously is the indigenship and all that. What are we doing as women to upturn this? Are we doing some lobbying behind bars? Are we behind the scene? Are we talking to more groups? Are we ensuring that we're getting commitments from these men to ensure they vote as we want them to? What has been what's been going on so far since this happened?
Well, for us to have seen from a 0 to a 3/5, I think some form of lobbying did take place, and it would be appreciated that even forces, civil society organizations, female groups came out en masse and said that they were not happy with the fact that there were no bills or no gender bills assented to or approved by the House of Representatives. So for there to have been a change, I believe, and I know kind of lobbying went on. Some of us, did not even rest for all those days that the bills, had been denied. So a lot of lobbying went on. A lot of lobbying is still going on. We are 3/5. Yes, it's better than 0/5, but we are still pushing to see how many more we can. At least the remaining 2, we're thinking of bringing it back, reworking them, and then representing them again.
So since this happened, of course, women have used their voice. We have shouted and threatened and everything, and protested. And, we had some conversations where people think, oh, well, it's just protest. You're just going to come out again, and then nothing happens. What do you think? Do you think that the way that women just came out en masse and in one voice to call out the National Assembly for this, do you think that it is the reason why we're even talking about the fact that they're going to overturn it or look at it one more time?
Yes, I want to believe it was part of it. It was not totally the reason why there was a relook at it. Yes, it was part of it, and it was a considerable part, if I may add. The fact that it was being reconsidered, the women came out, the women, pulled together and said, look, listen, this is our voice, and if you feel that we're joking this time, just wait until we get to the polls. And they realized that we were serious about it. And a lot of the civil society groups had started, the work of going down to the units, because that's what we were saying, that we will go down to the units, each polling unit that any woman and every woman has, and we would tell them what has happened. Because, some of the women in the rural women and those who are in the remotest parts of the country may not understand what is exactly going on. So we had made up our minds we were going to go down to the nitty-gritty, down to the units, to the most minute person or minute woman out on the street and say to them, this is what is happening and this is where we are going, and we would stand together as one. And I think they realized that. And so now the change that we're seeing is a part of us coming together to say, look, listen, we are going to stand as one, because they keep saying that we are our own enemies. And we're showing them that that's not happening. That's not true. Yeah. We are together.
Let me pause you for a second. I have just a few more minutes.
Quickly throw in this, because I realized that yesterday one of the comments that stuck with me was, we need to be assertive, not aggressive, because we're not fighting. They're already there, and women need to assert themselves. And we've interviewed several female politicians that were aspiring, and behind the scene they will tell us, oh, they told us to step down. They told us to step down. How can we push against the stepping down area where they say you aspire, and then the political godfathers will say, step down for now? What can you do, being where you are, to see how we can strategically position more women to be as candidates in 2023, so that we're planning ahead and not just campaigning and protesting?
Yes, I get you. And I think it is important we are also very sincere with ourselves. Because you are a woman does not mean that you come from no political history, no political background, no political, how do you say it?
Experience.
No political activity, not even experience, activity. not political activity. Have you been going to the ward meetings? Are you known in your ward? Are you known in your local government? Are you known in your state constituency? Are you known in your federal constituency? Are you known in your senatorial constituency? And then you just come out and say, no, I want to be the deputy governor. I want to be the governor. Down. Because you do not have any antecedents. So we also have to be very frank with us. I'm not going to say because I am the president's daughter to be the senator in frank with ourselves. When I came for 15, I was asked to step down, and I had worked so hard. And obvious to everyone, I had worked very hard. But because in the lineage, in the party structure, I wasn't a novice, and I understood that yes, okay, this is a recognition. I have worked so hard. Someone had.
Honorable Onanuga, we're having issues connecting with you, but I'm told that Dr. Shetima is back. Madam, are you there? Let me pause, Honorable, for a second. That's why we get that reconnected. Dr. Shetima, are you there? Dr. Shetima. We obviously have a connection.
Yes, I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm right here, Ms. Moyo. I'm right here.
You see, I had a question for you. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Shetima. So I would want to ask you how best you think women can support each other more, because most of this unconscious bias that we have is actually enforced by women. Most women are afraid that if a woman gets to a place of power, they'll come and rub it in, and so we don't see that much support. What are some things that we can begin to do to support ourselves as we get into leadership?
I think it's important that women realize that we are sisters to each other and not competitors against each other. I think that's the major issue that we will have to really work hard towards changing. Clearly, women are sort of, I'm sorry to say, sometimes they are their own worst enemies. If you can't just be singing, you want that equality, you want to be considered, when in actual sense you don't even consider yourself equal to a fellow woman. That truly happens a lot, and I think we need to get rid of that. I love the fact that Honorable Ajewumi was here, and she made a lot of sense. I feel that truly you have to start participating from somewhere. Like, politics just does not start at the top. Like, someone just wakes up and says, we want to be like a senator or a governor or whatever. I mean, you will have to, even in your own domain, your own house, as a housewife, as a wife, it's a political setting of some sort. So you have to learn to navigate through all that to control and maintain some level of confidence in the people you're taking care of.
Thank you, Dr. Shetima. Let me pause you on that. I have a Honorable Onanuga back, because there's a question I really wanted to ask you. Are you there, madam? Honorable Onanuga, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. This question, woman-to-woman question. You are in the house. We don't see these things. You know your people, your colleagues. I'm sure you have an idea where we have a problem amongst these men that are just refusing to adopt the fact that women are here. We're here to stay. So you know them. I'm sure you work with them. Who are they? Give us an idea. I mean, don't mention their name, but give us an idea what we're dealing with. I mean, and what other challenges are you facing as a woman within the house that is not letting these bills to be passed? Because it's not today. Senator Lulemi Tinubu has been trying to push this thing. You know, these are things that years, people have been going back and forth with this. What gun is the problem?
The matter is the fact that a lot of our men hide behind religious and cultural sentiments. And it is not true. They are just bringing out their own inadequacies, if I may use that word. A lot of our people, of the tenacity of a woman, of the doggedness of a woman, of how much a woman would hold on to something and make it better. I mean, like, Plaque they've done a lot of research to say that where a woman is given an opportunity to serve, effective and efficient allocation of public resources are utilized. improve conflict management and resolution, increase in public trust, reduce armed violence, because the woman will not go and pick up arms. Income and wealth generation. I want to believe that is what the men are afraid of. Stop the men, please. Don't get me wrong. Some men are he for she's, and they say, look, listen, these women, in truth, are capable and they have the capacity to do this work. But some men are just afraid. I do not know, maybe some kind of complex growing up, maybe some kind of complex religiously, maybe some kind of complex culturally. I cannot say. But some men are adamant. I don't even want to listen to any lobby you say to them or any points you're trying to get across to them. So that is what we are going on, what we're facing with some of our colleagues.
Right, got you. We have to wrap up. Just have one more here.
You could just disagree with something that was being said. I think, and both of our guests mentioned it. We have we have seen men, technocrats, no political history, brought into politics for their capacity to lead, and they were made to take a position of power through electoral process. I feel that this, go and start from local government, go and start from ward. We can bring in women who might not have started from the ward level or local government level, but they have capacity, and we know that if we put this woman in this position, people will rally around. I think that we women within the political space and women who have done grassroots that know that they might not be able to get it should go and call that woman from the bank, call that woman from the industry and say, we are going to support this woman, whether she's not a local government chairman or she's not even registered to any party, to become this person. And we must do that because it's not everybody that will go through that local government level to get into power. Because men don't go through it.
We do everything together.
Yes, we'll do everything together. Those that will start at ward level.
But thank you, Honorable.
Thank you for giving us go
We appreciate giving us the cocoa of the matter.
Yes, religious and ethnic
So we'll go back to our pastors and our imams to
start
teach
preaching.
and the culture, the social values that we have. Begin to tweak it. So these boys that we're raising are more, they are more refined.
Yeah.
So in the future, we don't have
the best way to get them is to present their daughters to them. Your daughters are growing
and
tomorrow.
I didn't get to
Would
ask
you want this
Miriam
to be done to them?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I didn't get to ask her any questions, but I wanted to say that for a woman from Kano State, you know, a lot of people would think immediately some of these biases, but you're seated here and you're using your voice, and that means you have broken some biases to be here. And I hope that, you know, that the women watching you and girls watching you today would learn from that and be inspired by you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm told that today is our director and cameraman, Mr. Shagun Peter's birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Mr.
Goli's birthday. Happy birthday to Happy birthday to them. All right, that is all. We can, in fact, any man I meet now, just like, he for shit. I'm taking this matter on my head. Stay with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.